Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're here today, and you should be too. And as you see, I'm holding a empty ring, which is a ring blank. And I got this ring blank from, well, it's an online jewelry company. You can order rings and pendant holders and whatnot, and they are, well, empty, so you can put your own gem in them. And these particular ones are adjustable, and they're not like super high quality. But if you have some stones at home that you want to, well, say you found one in your driveway, found one in your driveway and you cut it and it's like, wow, I'd like to put that into a ring. Well, before you cut it, get yourself one of these blanks and then, cut it to fit the ring. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to show you how to put, a cut stone into one of these rather inexpensive ring blanks. And the stone I'm going to use is actually a driveway stone. And this is one from the driveway, and it snapped on me. It had a crack across here, and I didn't think it was, I thought the crack was healed, and I didn't think it was going to crack, but it did. And I thought about, just redoing this stone into a smaller stone, and then I saw this, and I'm like, you know what, we should just use this to do that. So that's what I'm going to show you today. Now, if you have a stone, the first thing you should do is like flatten one side of it out, especially for these, because if you see, let me see if I can zoom in on this. This is made to put a flat back stone in, and it has a very thin bezel. And of course we're going to glue it on there because that bezel is kind of thin. It will hold a little bit, but adding just a little bit of glue in there is not going to hurt, because this is not like super high quality stuff here. And there is still nothing wrong with gluing a gemstone into a setting if you feel the need to do so, especially if it's a stone, something like this, where you cannot see through it. Okay, the first thing you got to do is decide what stone you want, and, well, basically what kind of setting you want in it. You want it in, blah, blah, blah. So, this is our stone, this is our ring. That's pretty straightforward. Now, the other part is to get this stone cut to go into this ring. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to get some templates. Okay, and these are multiple size. This one here is multiple sizes and multiple shapes. And you can basically take your ring and go along until you find a size that is going to fit. And in this case, we need focus. Can we focus, please? Thank you. I think I'm going to have to zoom. Okay, and in this case, it seems that this 14 is going to fit almost perfectly in this setting. Okay, the 14 just, actually that's going to fit like just almost perfectly. So how do we get this transferred onto here? Because if I put that on there and take a pencil or something and mark it, you're not going to be right up against the edge. So you could do this. You could go up to the next size, which is this size. Okay, and if you see me holding that on there, that's going to give you about, with your marker edge or your pencil edge, it's going to give you almost perfectly what you need. In this case, anyway, it is. And that's pretty much how you would do it. Let's zoom out. Okay, now here's another question. What if you don't have these? Well, you got your ring. And you got that's not a ring, that's a stone. You got your stone, and you want to decide where you're going to put it. So, even though this one's, finished on this side, I think I want to put this on there. So if I look at the stone through the template, I can get an idea of what I want. I could go with just a straight like eyeball across there, but I think I'm going to go with that in this orientation. Yes, just a little bit off, sort of like me. So I could do what we had said if we have a template. So we could take this marker, set this where we want it, and come around. I'm just going to make a slight outline there. Because if we would, well, I can't quite do it the way I want to show you. Well, we'll do it this way. I'm going to make the whole outline just like that. Okay, can you see that? Let's zoom in, and hopefully you can see that. Okay, that was the one size bigger. See? Ba-ba-dum. Now, if we move it over here to this one, you see, if we get to cut to the inside of that line, that is going to give us almost exactly the size we need. And if we set this on here like so, and hopefully you can see it apart from my fingers, even though it is off a little bit, that inside line is going to put us right in the ballpark of where we need to be. So that's what you do if you have the template. If you don't have the template, what you can do is put this on here where you want it. Okay? And you can get some sort of scribe or a sharp nail and go around the outside of the ring. And what you're doing is you're marking the stone. Now, if you can see, maybe if we zoom in enough, we'll be able to see. You can see there is a faint scratch on the outside of that marker line, which will give us the outside of this. Ta-da! So as you see, if you're doing it with the template or you're doing it with the ring or the pendant, oh, look at that. I can shine the light on there so we can see better. Ain't that cool? Yes. So either way you do it, you're going to get it fairly accurately, or accurately enough that you're going to be able to get this into this. So right now we have this marked out where we want it to be. So we're going to take this over to the wheel, and we're going to put this, make this so we can fit it into this. So, wait. So, focus there. So, let's get on it. Okay. Get the wheel going. Get the water going. All right, so we have our mark on here, focus. And what I'm going to do, like, normally I would just take, if this was a harder stone, and cut this off with the saw. But I'm just going to grind this down now because this is not a very hard stone. So what we're shooting for is we are going to rough fit this into that ring blank. Okay, and it may be a little bit hard to see where that line is. What we want to do is get right up to that line. Okay, and the first thing we got to do is get that pretty much fitted into the stone, into the ring. And I'm going to get this pretty much right down to the edge. And you want to be as accurate as you can. And once I get close, we're going to go to the other wheel because I have so much to take off here right now. That's why I started off with this rougher wheel. And focus. Okay, you can see I'm getting pretty darn close. And maybe a little bit difficult to see on here because that marker is dark and the stone is dark. And the day is dark because we turned the clocks back, which I bloody well hate. As you can see, hopefully you can see, I'm just coming up to the edge of that line. And I'm trying to hold this as 90 degrees to this edge of the stone that wheel that I'm using as possible. Why do I keep getting everything messed up, stones and wheels and ugh? I'm blaming it on the time. Okay, focus. All right, you can see I'm very, very close to that. So what I'm going to do now, I think, is I'm actually going to shift the wheels. Yes, I am. Because this wheel is 80 grit, and it's going to take off a lot, really fast. So we're going to shift over here to the 300 grit wheel. And that means joggling your eyeballs. Okay, we are already over here to the 300 grit wheel. Which, the water is not working on. There is the water. Thank you, water. Okay. Focus. As you can see, let me get that dried off a little bit. The line is there, and it's somewhat hard to see. So, I'm going to hold this with this flat back, the flat back to where I can see the line, and I'm going to hold this 90 degrees to this plane. Okay, or as close to 90 degrees as I can get it. I'm going to have to turn a light on here, which may mess up the... Oh, there, that's better. Yeah, I hope that doesn't mess up the camera any. And usually I can see this, but it being a dark line on a dark stone, it is kind of hard to see with just the light from the camera. If I add other light, it seems to mess up the video quality, so I don't like to do it. As you can see, this edge, this flat bottom, is 90 degrees to the wheel. So I'm going to go around there and get right up to that scribed line we have on there. Okay, as you can see on this side, I am very, very close, if not right on it. So I am going to keep up with that. You know, and take your time doing this. Okay, if you're doing this by hand with like sandpaper on a hard flat surface, you can do it just as easily on there. It may not be as quick, but you can easily do it on there. It is not extremely difficult. You just have to be patient. Be patient and take your time. Take a little bit at a time. Light pressure on there. And you want to get right down to that scribed line that you have. Yeah, and I'm not holding it tight against there at one spot. If you notice, I'm taking like moving it this way, which would be like this against that wheel. Try to get nice smooth cuts across that stone right up to that line. Like I said, with very light pressure. Okay, and you can see right there on the white part You can see I'm right at the edge of that line. That's where I want to be. And here you can see it again too. Right down there. I'm right on that edge. I'm going to take this down just a little bit farther. And that's going to put us to the outside edge of that ring blank. Now if I'm focused, if you look there, 90 that bit right here is not quite 90 degrees off of this plane. So I'm going to take that down a little bit until I get to the 90 degrees. And that one may be even a bit worse. But you don't have to be too crazy about it yet. Alright? So I'm pretty much right on the edge of that line where I want to be. And when you're doing this, get yourself some good light so you can see. Alright, so let's take a look if I put it in the camera. Focus! 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 There. I am pretty much right on the edge of that line, which is where we want to be. So if I get the ring, okay, focus. Focus! What is wrong? Oh, there you go. You see that it is not going in there yet, but it is right on the outside edge of that. That is like exactly what you want right now. Okay, now here's where the tricky part comes in. This is where you really have to be. This is where you're going to take your time. Really going to take your time. And this is where the magic happens. You can see that you have your marker mark on there. And in this case, if you can see your marker is kind of not there, we're going to add it again. Alrighty, I'm just going to do this right here. Focus, for heaven's sakes. Okay. I've got the stone. I dried it off. And I'm going to take this marker and I'm just going to go around the edge of this stone, sort of riding my marker on the edge. Just to highlight that marker, or highlight that edge a little bit more. I don't want to go too far down onto the stone. I just want to highlight that edge. Okay, it may not look like much, but that might be all you need, really. Let me see if that other marker works better. Okay, here's a thicker marker. If you're using... Focus! If you're using a thicker marker, yeah, this works a little better. You're going to work over that edge. You're going to hold that against the edge, the side of it against the edge, just so you can get a little bit of marker on that edge to highlight it. Yeah, this one's working out a lot better, especially if I would keep it in the frame. Okay, now you can see it's there flashing. That is what you want. Alright. Now, we are going to... Let me see if I can zoom this in without losing too much integrity. Okay, I am going to take this around and I am going to just take away the edge, the colored edge that I've just put on there. I'm going to do it in small little bits, because if you see, focus, that was cutting pretty much at an angle. I still want to keep this at 90 degrees to my wheel. My stone 90 degrees to my wheel. And you're going to take away tiny little bits at a time. Tiny little shavings. As you're grinding off not even as thick as a piece of paper. Okay, I've gone around there once. Now, I'm just going to dry this off, and then I'm going to pull my ring blank out. Okay, focus. Now, this stone is pretty thick, so I can grab a hold and take it out. If this bezel was thicker, you want to put a piece of string or dental floss underneath there, so that when you put the stone in there, okay, see, that is almost fitting, but it's not quite yet. So we're going to have to go around that one or two more times. I'm just going to set this over here. What you want to do is continually taking off just a smidgen of this stone. Okay, I don't know if you can see it at this angle focus, but there's still some of that marker left. Even right here on this tip, there's a little bit of that marker left. So you can take and go around this the way I'm doing it right now. If you could see it, because it would be in focus, it would surely help so much. And I'm going to take off just a little shaving at a time, going around it. And like I said about those long movements, it covers like from here to here, back and forth. Okay, those are the kind of movements you want to do. You don't want to change the shape. You've basically established the shape. You just want to make the shape smaller. Okay, so we've gone around there at least one time. So we're gonna get this in focus again. Focus! There. I'm gonna try setting this down into it again. And the one side is in, and you can see that it's just barely not going in there. Which is good, because it's just about ready to go. You haven't gone too far. So I'm going to take the marker again, and I'm going to go around this edge one more time. You know, and it doesn't matter if you mark this thing 6 times and go around there. It doesn't matter. You're not out to impress someone by only marking it once and, you know, getting a perfect fit. You want to just get it to fit as good as you can. If you have to go around it once, mark it, go around it again, mark it, go around it again, mark it. Who cares? I will say, though, make sure that you dry the stone off really well, because this one wasn't exceptionally dry, and as you can see, the marker didn't stay on there real well. So I'm going to go over this one more time and drop it, holding that as close to 90 degrees as I possibly can, making those nice gentle long movements around. Until I get the whole way around the stone. I called it the right thing this time. Okay. And then get my very dirty, dusty rag. Wipe it off and look where I'm at. Right, I'm going to pull up my ring again. And look what we've got. We are actually almost fitting in that. This side is, you can see it's almost fitting in. This side is actually in the bezel. This side is in the bezel. This side is not quite in the bezel. It looks as if the only place that's not fitting is up here. So we know that that's not fitting correctly. So I'm going to take a little bit off of right there. And focus. Oh, and we are almost there. And another thing you may want to consider, these may not be perfectly oval shaped. So you can see on here, there's a little knob right there. That's going to be our top. So I'm going to see if it fits better one way, the stone fits better one way or the other, because sometimes that does happen. Okay, we are almost in, and it looks like right here. I was going to hold the ring on my finger and do that, but you don't want to accidentally touch the ring against the against the wheel. Okay, so let's see. Focus. Oh, we are almost in there. That is so absolutely close to going in. It's holding itself there, actually. It seems like this edge right here is where we need to take a little bit more off. And that is what we're going to do. Here we go. And do we have it yet? Oh, we are so close. We are so close. It feels like right here we need a little bit more off. It just seems like this edge right here is the edge that is giving us issue. Okay, I'm going to dry that a little bit because I'm getting a lot of crap on the ring itself. Okay, there's the knob at the top. Why are you not focusing? I never thought I'd have a camera I had to talk to. Okay, do I have the right side up? Nope. It's just not quite wanting to go in. Now let's look at it from this way. That is so close. Okay, you can see right there. Looks like right there is where it's not wanting to go in. That's what I keep saying. It's always right there that doesn't want to go in. Okay, now it seems like this area doesn't want to go in. And you're going to have to do this by feel. When you get down this close, it's like, oh, look what just happened. We are in. We are in. It is slightly movie. There's a slight amount of movement in there. Actually, but this way there's not. Now look at that. Now, if you were doing this and you got it really, really tight and the stone was small, you might have trouble getting it out of there. So that's why I said about the dental floss. But there's enough room on this stone. Oh, look how that's actually set in there. Ah, you know, sometimes you may want the dental floss on there as it is. There, it came out. Okay, so we need a reference point. Fits in there. Oh, it fits in there that way and that way. Okay, so we don't really need an extremely good reference point. But what we do need to do is basically stay away from this setting edge. Okay, so what we're going to do now is basic stone stuff. So let's get this down to the normal. And don't forget which is your top. Okay, this is the bottom. So now I'm just going to leave it on this wheel, and I'm going to start putting a bevel on this stone. And we do not want to come down to the far edge. Okay? We do not want to do that. Now, if you're not comfortable working with this small of a stone, because it has a flat bottom, you could put it on a stick right now and start working that. Okay? And you know what? Honestly, I should do that right now. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this over to the table, and I'm going to put this on a stick, and I'm going to come right back, and we're going to finish this up. Okay? We're back, and we've got it on a stick, and you want to make sure that you are focused. And this part here, you know, if you've watched the channel before, you've seen this done quite a bit. Anything different this time is I'm not going to do too much with this bezel edge. I'm going to go around it once or twice just to smooth it up. And then I'm going to work on the top of the stone. First, I'm going to get that edge brought down about to where the bezel is. Okay, and I'm hoping that you can see that. But I'm bringing this edge down just about to where that bezel is. And then I'm going to work on the top of the stone. And normally I would come down over this setting edge, but I'm not going to come down over that too much this time. I may turn this light off. That might be a little bit better. Actually, I think I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to work this stone down until I get a nice even dome across there. And like I was saying, this stone was already worked once. Focus. I'm not going to have a lot to do on this, but the only thing I'm going to say is stay away from that bezel edge. Since we're not making the bezel to fit the edge, you see, I'm just going to hold that at an angle so I don't hit the bottom third of it or so. I'm just going to work the top of it because we already have that edge the way we want it, in the right shape. Now I'm going to dry that off a little better. And as you can see, that's looking pretty good. And I'm going to say it again, take your time. This one's not going to take too much time to get pretty nice because it was somewhat worked before. But I'm not going to go down the whole way to that bezel edge. There we go. And as you can see, that's looking pretty nice. So we can already move over to the next wheel. Okay. And this is the wheel of the bad valve. And we still want to be very careful on this one as well. Because even though this does not take off much, okay, and I'm just going to do a quick flyby over that edge. And then focus everything else on the curvature edge. Because even though this wheel is fine, it's still going to take off some, and we don't want too much play in that stone as it sets in the setting. And as you can see, I'm holding it at an angle so I'm not really hitting this bottom edge much at all. I'm just going to work on smoothing the top of this stone out. And focus. Focus. There it is. Okay, I think that's pretty good. That's all it took. So off with the water, and to the next wheel we go. There's the water. I'm not going to do much about this edge. That's it on the edge. But I am going to hit the other edge. And just work the top of the stone. And unless you hit that edge that goes around the bezel, the less play the stone's going to have. And that's looking pretty darn nice. And I honestly think that's all the more I am going to do here. You see there's a little bit of roughness around that bottom edge right there. But I'm not going to take it out on this wheel or anything. I'm going to take it out with the Zam. Focus. We're going to Zam it. And I think that's all I'm going to do. So, meet me over at the desk, and we're going to set this stone. So don't go away, okay? Okay, I'm back. And as you can see, hit this stone with the Zam, and that is pretty darn nice. Now, what we need to do next is get everything in focus. And I got some 500 grit sandpaper here, and I'm going to gently lay that stone on here. And I did this a second ago, and I'm like, why am I doing this without putting it on the video? That's because I'm an idiot. And I'm not going to bother wet sanding this because it's only just for a few moments here. I'm going to get any of the glue and the garbage off the bottom of the stone, and I'm going to rough it up a little bit. So focus. We've basically got that now. So that stone is nice and flat, and we're not going to need the sandpaper anymore, which is great. But what we do need to do is to clean this all up. And I got here, and I'm going to clean the stone off. This is alcohol. I use denatured alcohol. And I've got a clean rag, or a fairly clean rag. Where'd the stone go? Ah, great. Just what I need to do is drop the stinking thing. Okay, gonna clean that stone off because we are going to adhere it to this. And as you can see, this is trashed, so we need to clean it too. Okay, so put some denatured alcohol and get the cleanest edge of the dirty rag. And we're going to clean this all up. Clean it all up nice and proper. You know, I would suggest getting a clean rag to do the cleaning here. Alrighty, so okay, that is nice and clean now. And we have a, well, fairly clean surface. I can see there is some gook in there yet, which I'm going to get out. Yes, a Q-tip does well for cleaning, which I should have done in the first place, but why would I do something like that? Okay, we are going to make sure it's all nice, spick and span and cleaned and all that good garbity gook. And you want your stone to be dry. So you could go over and hit this with a hairdryer. This has been setting there for a little bit, so it should be fairly dry. So I'm just going to set that in the setting and see how we are. Oh, look at that. It just flopped right in. Okay, as you can see, there's a little bit of play. A little bit of, you can see a little bit of the bottom of the setting right there around that edge. So I'm going to flip the stone and see if it fits any better that direction. You know, because we did sort of fit this one way or the other, and I think it actually looks worse that way. Yeah, there's a little bit of play in there. So it can basically set in there either direction, I believe. So the next thing we're going to do is basically we're ready to go. Okay, and I find that there's no real problem with using super glue for this. Okay, so here's what's important. You don't want to completely KO this thing with super glue. I'm going to take and put a dab of super glue gel right there. Why is there gook hanging out of my gel? Okay, don't have gook hanging out of your gel. I'm putting a blob of super glue gel right there. All right, and because it's gel, I can lay it down and it's not going to go anyplace. So I'm going to take the stone, set it over top, and then push it down right into that setting. And if you can see that there's, oh, there, I got some super glue up the side. That's just what I did not want to do. Arrgh! Oh, we shall deal with that. That's why I said just put a dab of super glue gel in there. And I wanted to be able to move it around so that there's that little bit of stuff shining through there. But don't worry, we can sort of take care of that. Now you're going to let this set for a while. Just press it down in. And, you know, you can even try it on right now to see how it looks, which is like, woo, pretty good. So you're going to let this set, and it's going to dry. And then we will push this bezel? We will push this we will push this bezel around the edge to set it. So, don't go away. Okay, we're back. And we'll let this set and dry for a while. And we're going to zoom in just a little bit. And as you can see, the stone's pretty well set in there. There's a slight bit of super glue up on this side, but that's not going to be an issue. Okay, so what we're going to do next is, what I have here, it's a scratch awl that I converted into a burnisher for doing stuff like this. And what we need to do is push this bezel, oh my God, push this bezel up against the stone. And as you can see, this is a toothed bezel. If you happen to have a bezel rocker, that would be perfect. But if you don't, you can take this, which is a polished scratch awl. It could be a little bit more polished. I've used this before. And you come over and you push on the edge of that bezel. Okay, and you can drag it across like this. Okay, and as you can see, it is pushing over ever so slightly. Right here is going to be the telltale. Let's see how that goes. Okay. Okay, we've got it over a little bit onto there. Not a whole lot. And when you're doing this, you want to, even though the stone is glued in place, you want to do it evenly. So you're going to do like here on this edge and go around to the other end and push that over a little bit, and then go to like this side. Okay, and you have to use a bit of force, but not a tremendous amount. And you're going to push that right down to the edge. And as you can see, that is going over now. Hear that rip. Where's the focus at? You can hear that going across that. And you want this piece to be, bezel setter to be polished, because it'll put a polish onto the metal. If it's kind of rough, it'll leave sort of a rough edge on the bezel itself. You don't want to be hitting stone with it. Okay, you want to be right on the edge of the bezel. I know this is kind of rough watching here, but basically that's all you're going to do. I prefer a bezel rocker because I can rock it around there better. And actually, this does help if you have it setting in like a ring holder or a piece of dowel, because it lets the holds the ring better than your fingers can. Okay, so you're going to go a whole way across that several times. Now, honestly, you probably wouldn't even have to do that with this, because this ring is, the stuff is glued in. But this is how you would do it if you were setting a, say if you made the bezel yourself. Sorry, I'm jumping everywhere here. Pretty much got that as good as it's going to get. And you can see that, well, there's the spot that, well, there's a spot right there, and there's a spot right there. That is somewhat away from the stone. We can try to press that down. And basically, there you have it. That is how you cut a stone to fit inside of a pre-made bezeled ring. And then, well, you adjust it to fit your finger. And you've got a pretty ring. Like I said, these things are not expensive. Okay, they're not like super high quality. You have some stones that you've cut, or you have a bunch of stones that you want to cut. Get some of these. I mean, buy some. Basically, all you need is this to set it. And you could take a bezel rocker. You can pick them up on Amazon for a couple of bucks. They're not expensive. The bezel rockers work really well. You hold them and you push against it that way. The tool's sort of self-explanatory when you see it. But this is what you got when you're done. And you can, I don't know the exact price of these. These ring blanks are very, very cheap, and you can get, different qualities of them too. But for making your own rings, you can't beat this, especially if you're getting stones like out of your driveway. You've gone out and found a piece of little hunk of agate, and like, I'm going to put that in a ring. Well, this is how you're going to do it. So I can say for certain that this stone in this ring is a win. So if you like the video, hit the button, subscribe, and I'll be back with more, hopefully more how to do it videos. And, well, everything I do here is how to do it. But remember, just try to be the best version of yourself. And the best way to start doing that is ringing the bell, because then you'll know whenever I'm on. So, hey, thanks for spending some time with me, and have a good evening.